I believe there is a single concept that will drastically improve your ability to create art, and it has nothing to do with drawing. This is something rarely talked about, but I believe it's how I went from this, to this, to this, in 2 years and 1 month, by drawing sometimes only 20 minutes a day. I'll try to keep this short, but to provide a bit of backstory for context. I am, by all definitions, average. There is nothing special about me. I'm not very creative. I don't have any prior experience with drawing. On top of that, I learn things very, very slowly. A lot of people may see that as a weakness, but through overcoming these things, I believe that I have not only found strength, but a logical and progressive system for learning that's allowed me to go from drawing pretty badly to an intermediate skill level in about 2 years. The only issue is there will never be a set way to replicate this, because my improvement did not come from drawing 5 hours a day, didn't come from a teacher or a mentor that helped guide me, and isn't going to work the same way for any of you. That being said, I can do you something even better, and show you the base steps to making a plan to get started and accelerate your learning, and you can do this while being entirely self-taught. So the concept that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and the way to achieve this, is called effective learning. Simple, right? It's something you really don't think about. The more I talk to the people who are professionals in the industry, and the more that I talk to beginners, teachers, people who struggle to improve, and people who do improve, the more I realize the large gap and divide between those who skyrocket in ability and those who don't. Effective learning is a concept that I've seen applied by the people who say that they have talent, people who are improving, and is completely forgotten about by the people who tend to stagnate, and rarely talked about by the people who actually teach art. That being said, I know there are a few great videos with very similar concepts. I know Cycria has a very good one on iterative drawing, but I'm going to dive deeper into the subject and share how I learned the most important thing when it comes to art, and that's how to teach myself. So the first thing I believe to be a major part of effective learning is motivation. Motivation to me isn't necessarily a thing that you feel that gets you up out of bed in the morning. It's not something that you feel that makes birds and butterflies, but instead it's an overarching goal that I want to work towards that applies pressure on me to improve over anything else. What motivates me to improve the most is my goal of becoming a professional artist in 4 years' time, and being an example that this stuff can work to get anyone else there too. That means that my mindset has changed from drawing just to draw, and instead provides me with a mindset of learning and application that wouldn't be possible without the hunger and the drive to move forward. Once you have a significant drive to improve, you need to figure out how. This is the hardest part for anybody because the answer is always going to be different. But one of the first steps is to find out what type of student you are. There's a theory when it comes to teaching that people have 3 different types of learning: visual, auditory, and hands-on learning. And classrooms are built for making sure all 3 of these are met. You can see the board the instructor writes on, hear him speak, and ask questions and write down answers and notes. This can be used for self-study once you identify the type of learning that you respond best to, and will increase the speed that you study at significantly. Good examples of this are doing master copies for hands-on learning, watching YouTube videos for auditory learning, and books for visual learning, etc., etc. So now you have the 2 basic tools for learning, but where do you start? The big issue from starting from nothing is you know nothing. So when you want to learn art but you don't have a teacher to show you, you need to get started on studying what to learn first. That's why for me, once I got serious, I made a big map. Nothing huge and complicated, but a general overview of the things that I needed to learn that I could look at. And the goal for this is to have a completed big picture. Something like this will simplify all the complicated stuff that art has to it, and in turn allows you to see the big picture and check your progress in these areas. To check my progress, I use color codes to self-identify where I'm feeling the weakest, so that if I want to study something, I'll know what to break into. This sort of planning also allows me to not constantly focus on what I'm doing wrong, but instead to have a list that I can check to see where I can improve. So beyond this point, there's really nothing new that hasn't been said a million times. So I'll still say a little bit of it anyways, and explain why it applies to this. Studying every day will help you learn more than all at once. Our brains kind of work as like a limiting filter. We can only process a tiny bit of information at a time. So studying every day as opposed to all at once is going to be better for the learning process. Carrying a sketchbook. Having one on you at all times will make it much easier to study from life and squeeze extra time in here and there. Getting critique. Nobody's perfect. Critique from somebody better than you is highly valued. I still treasure it. You should treasure it too. Using the correct books and materials and focusing on different ways to study. That's also another important thing that I won't get into. But if there should be one main takeaway from this video, it would be that doing your own research and learning how you can apply it to the learning process is invaluable, and people don't really talk about it. And it's the thing that has helped me and will help you most significantly in the process of becoming a better artist. So, I know this is a longer video, but I did want to hit on all points for this one because I feel it's the most valuable information I can provide. In case you haven't checked it out already, I've started streaming regularly on Twitch, so catch me there and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned something new.